looks like we're going to get started here. If I can get all lighting figured out. A little bit late tonight. Sorry about that. Had a heck of a day getting around. Stuck at the dentist of all things. But I'm here now. Pono Kwai, welcome. Hope you dig that. For those of you that are on the islands, check out Kauai Beer. They do a great job. Folks are starting to join here as we get cutting. And there's a lot to talk about. There's just so much. Tonight's beer. Pale Ale. Denali. Nicely carbonated, if I do say so myself. This is of my own design. Finn, I know you're on the edge. We will get there, I promise. And I got a couple other things hopefully working for you later in the week. Some other folks to talk to. They're more than just me, so we can get multiple points of view. Now, I think the football game has started tonight, so we're probably not going to have the same number of people, but we are going to get into it. Athletes, how are you, buddy? It all comes down to this. I titled this one Self-Inflicted Wounds because it's just, in my opinion, it was not the Titans beating Kansas City. It was Kansas City dropping the ball, both figuratively and literally. And that's really what the big problem comes down to. You have to be able to push through what you have to do. Pono, I got this at the brewery when I was there last year. So, official. Casey, Jeremy, what's up, guys? Appreciate you guys jumping in. And everybody else who's in the chat. If you're new around here, welcome to the channel. This is going to be a Q&A. You guys ask questions and I'll answer them. I did my kind of post-game walkthrough rant / thing yesterday. You can check that out if you like. If you're new around here, hit your question marks at the beginning of your question. It helps me pick them out of the chat because the chat scrolls really fast on me. In fact, I'm going to try something new tonight and pop it out of the window so that hopefully I have a slower scroll, and that should help me hit more of your questions. That is my goal. So, Aaron's in. How are you? Film Gluttony, what's up, buddy? Oh, hey. I haven't been called that before, Chief's therapist. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the donation, buddy. I will definitely come back and ask me a question. I'll make sure I get it. And I will have film for you guys this week. Going to try to stay on the same schedule. Next week's going to be a mess because it's a Monday night game, so everything's going to be delayed. But this week, I should be able to still kick it out on time. So that said, the title is Self-Inflicted for everybody who just joined because the Chiefs beat themselves, in my opinion. And it all starts what we thought was a downhill trend on the penalties. They ended up with 9 for 80 yards again. Just not being able to take care of business, to do their job. And again, I take this all back, like I said last night, and after having multiple conversations with some beat writers as well as my podcast partner, Chris Clark. And if you guys haven't heard that, the Locked On Chiefs podcast, Apple, Google, podcast, everywhere you get a podcast, you can get it. It's also here. I reposted here to YouTube as well, so you can check that out. And Chris had some good points too. But the long story short is that, quite frankly, the penalties, the fumbles, not showing up ready to play, these are all things that tie into what you can control about your game, about your Sunday, and about how you win or lose. And that's the big problem. And that has to come back to a split. I've seen a lot of people asking questions about who to blame. It's not necessarily about blame. I'm going to try to point out to you guys the things that can change in a positive way and help them get back on track and who may have dropped the ball. It's not about blame. It's about what went wrong and why and how that contributed to the rest of this loss. Now, the Titans are a solid football team. They're not immaculate, but they're old school. They're Mike Vrabel in a roster. They run the ball well. They play solid defense. They're not spectacular on defense, but they play solid. All you had to do is get a little bit of performance from the quarterback to even it out, and you're there. But when the Chiefs give up 188 yards to one dude, you don't have to do a whole lot. So it's about the defense. It's about executing in situations. The special team stuff was really off. And that all comes back down to 3 people, in my opinion. Andy Reid, Dave Tobe, and Steve Spagnuolo. That's why you're coordinators or head coaches in this league, because you're responsible for getting performance out of your players. Now, that said, I know there's going to be questions. We'll get to them here in just a couple of minutes as you guys are starting to queue up and we're getting more folks joining still. I know it's a little late. I apologize. You have to get play out of your guys. And that means that you have to play the guys that give you the best advantage to actually win. And that includes Mike Pennell against a team that you know wants to run. So whoever made that decision, I don't know if it was Spags or if it was Reid, somebody made the decision to play Ivy over Pennell. First mistake, doomed you, set the foundation of your game plan and ruined the entire thing. Because there was no concept. I don't care how cute they wanted to get or what they saw on film about maybe they do a couple of things that are interesting that might be a challenge for you to cover in the pass game. Like Jonnu Smith, he's a good tight end. AJ is a good receiver. He's young, but he's good. And so maybe you got caught up being worried about that. I don't know. That's my guess, is that you felt like the offense was going to put you in a lead and then Tennessee was going to have to throw, and that's what you're going to have to guard. But that's the cart before the horse. This is a running team that you just played, and you let them run all over you. There's no way you should have overlooked that. I don't care if you get beat over the top by some impressive play because they have to go to it. If that huge pass on board had come after grinding them to a halt in the run game, that's the gamble you're making. Okay, I can live with that. But to take a team whose only strength on offense is running the ball with one guy in Derrick Henry, it's not like they even use a committee or their line is so powerful that anybody can run behind them. It's one guy. It's Derrick Henry, and it's Derrick Henry, and it's Derrick Henry. And you didn't stop him. That's the problem. So it all comes back to the problem is in-house. It is not the Titans. It is not playing a superior team. It's not playing a superior coach. It is all in-house. And that, on a good side, is all controllable. They can fix all of it. And it all comes down to not getting away from the basics of football. This whole thing, and you've heard me yammer on, I'm going to try not to hit about running the ball versus passing. That's one symptom of it. But overall, this staff gets too cute, gets carried away with the little details, the things over the top, and gives up on basics or overlooks basics, fundamental football. That's the big problem. But again, that is another thing that is fixable. So that's my rant. I know I went on for 7 minutes now. I apologize. We'll get to the questions. So let's see. Clinton Petrie, first question. Good job tonight, buddy. Folks, super chats are open, super stickers too. If you guys want to make any donations, feel free. I appreciate it. I use them to do designs or get graphic help or whatever. But if you do, make sure you ask a question so I can get you something for your donation tonight, okay? So Clinton, I hate feeling like this season is essentially over, realistically speaking. Do you think last year was our peak? No, I do not. And this year is not over. They've lost 4 games. There's no reason they can't win out. It's well within the realm of possibility, especially when you look at the teams that the Patriots have played. Yes, they're way out front, right? There's no reason to think you can't beat them. So nothing's over. It's really, really frustrating because they're not living up to their potential. This team should be, I don't know, 9-1. That's where I had them at in my preseason prediction. That's the talent level that they have. They're just not living up to it. And I have to say, it's not because of the pass rush. Pass rush dropped off. They only had 13 pressures against the Titans, which it should have been more. But again, when you had 13 pressures, he only dropped back for 19 passes, 20 passes because there was a sack. So that's still a really good pressure percentage. I mean, that's 2/3 of the snaps that Ryan Tannehill took, he got pressure on. So that's all right. Maybe the gross numbers weren't up because they went from 28 to 21 to 20 the last 3 weeks. But Chris Jones was the only one who got multiple pressures yesterday, and that's the problem. You can't do it with just one guy. And now a lot of stuff has come out, and I don't mean to get away from Clinton's question. Clinton, I don't think anything's over. I'm not nostalgic yet because you don't have to be. There's another game this week. There's more to come. It's going to be okay. They're going to make the playoffs unless they have a complete and total meltdown, which I just can't see happening. But, I didn't see this happening either, so we'll pay attention. But it also came out that Frank Clark is got a serious nerve condition in his neck, to the point where when you get a compressed nerve, you don't have fine motor control. You can still move, and he said that the outer two fingers were going numb and getting a burning sensation. That's a pretty serious inflammation or compression of a nerve. That doesn't happen every week, and it makes it, while you can still move it, you can't grip. You have no grip strength. So that's a serious part for a guy who uses his hands to fight in the pass rush. Not making excuses for him, but that's a severe thing that's been going on that we were unaware of until this point. So just want that out there too. Carlos Romero, do you think if Andy Reid can't get it done with the talent he has in KC now, that they should go and bring in someone else? There's no one else to bring in. I've probably had this question asked to me 50 times today on Twitter. The thing is, Andy Reid is an elite coach. Yes, he's got his problems. He doesn't manage the clock very well. He ignores the run at times, and he doesn't really bolster his defense. He doesn't lay the law down. He's still a player's coach, and he doesn't push guys on the opposite side of the ball as well as he does his offensive players. That's never going to change. But even with all those flaws, he's still one of the 5 best coaches in this game. It's Belichick. It's him. You can argue from there. It's really up for grabs. He is not going to be somebody that you can fire and replace with a better coach. That's just the way it is. I love Eric Bieniemy. I think he would bring more run game to this offense, which I personally want to see. But Eric Bieniemy is not a better coach than Andy Reid. There's no one out there that is. I heard somebody even asked me today about Mousy, Senior Shanahan. Shanahan's not a better coach than Andy Reid. He'd be different, but he's not better. And you're not dragging him out of retirement to come to the Chiefs. I'll tell you that. So that's the big problem is, you could let him go, but where are you going to go from there? You're not going to get an upgrade. And I think you've seen with like Sean McVay, with Zach, with some of these new young coaches that are hired specifically for their offensive prowess. Holy crap, they hit the wall, right? So I don't buy into that whole sensation anyway. And now that just limits, who else could be out there that could actually be an upgrade. I mean, Garrett's going to be out there. I don't think he survives the season. You want to hire him? I don't. I don't see any way to upgrade from him. So that's where I come back to. Good question, though. Dr. Sanitary, I hate to say it, but why can't Andy Reid not manage the clock? It's just not something that he focuses on. He plays for speed. All of his he knows, especially with Pat, he can get 30 yards in a 6-second play, so he just doesn't care. It's almost a license for him to pay less attention to the clock than he has in years past, and we know it's been a problem in the past. So it just is what it is. Tom Badine, do you think it was too soon to bring back Mahomes? Personally, I thought they should have waited until after the bye. I do not. I saw zero physical problem. If it were a risk, if he'd gotten hit more, I think the line did a good enough job. Oddly enough, when they had to move guys around because of the injuries, Steve Wisniewski came in and played great pass blocking. That was an upgrade at the left guard spot. So I feel better about that. I don't think it was a risk. I think he moved well. It looks like the ankle's completely healed. So no, I'm not worried about it. I don't think that was a problem. Okay, let's see. Who's next? Christopher Skidmore. Should we as fans be more concerned about the defense? Yes. They showed you a glimpse of it. They played good for a couple of weeks when they had to because they had more, not Mahomes. And then they took their foot off the gas, and honestly, half of them didn't get off the bus. I don't know what Anthony Hitchens was doing. And I heard a lot of locker room stuff, people saying that he was talking about trying to be a guiding force and just follow me. Don't follow Anthony Hitchens anywhere. He's not playing well enough for you to follow him. Somebody get the hair in the back of their neck up and do something. Don't follow, lead. I'd rather have 11 leaders than 10 followers in this defense. I'll tell you that right now. Jeremy Jones, what's up with the team half-assing it now that Patrick is back? And that's honestly, I don't think it's a conscious thing. I think it's just a letdown that, hey, he's back. We're going to be able to score. It's not going to be a problem. And it just kind of, it almost is like standing on the sidelines instead of studying the film shots or what you're going to do or how you're going to pressure. The defense is like standing around watching Pat. When I look at the sidelines, there's too many guys watching what the offense is doing instead of getting ready to do their job. That's just a pet peeve of mine. But I don't know where it comes from. But that's the thing that Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo have to cut out. You have to be an alpha dog at 11 positions on the defense. You have to not care about whether you're up or not. You have to attack. You have to be aggressive. You have to do your job. You can't let anybody relax. There's no time left. You screwed it up already. You have taken all your chances. You have to push these players. There's no way around it. So, next question. John Cook, bigger concern, O-line or D-line? O-line, certainly. There is enough talent on the D-line that I feel you can move around. Really, really sad that Agba is having surgery. If you missed it, it was announced tonight. He is having surgery. He is done for the season. He's the Chiefs' leading sack total with 5.5, which is terrible. That is not good. Somebody on this team should be over 10 by now. That's a sack a game. That's what Frank Clark was brought in here to do. And now I know he's been hurt, and I am completely understanding of that. But somebody's got to make up the slack. Chris was hurt a couple of weeks. He seems to be coming on. Somebody's got to do it. And at this point, after this performance this season so far, if things don't change, you have to sign Chris Jones. Maybe sign Chris Clark too. Sorry, Chris. But you have to sign Jones. You don't have anything else. And while I like Alex Okafor, I like the rotation, I like Tano, you need another force on the other side. You need more production. And I think it has to be somebody young, inexpensive, maybe a draft pick. But the top of the draft, first round, has to go to the secondary. Maybe a linebacker, but I've taken an initial look. I haven't dug deep yet. But the linebacker class is not as good as it was last year, off-ball linebackers. So I can't see somebody being there at 28 or 30 that is really going to make an impact. So I'm thinking second or third round, definitely day 2 for a linebacker, but they definitely need some help there as well. Alex Mitchell, why are we better or worse on D than last year? That's a good question. It's a bit of both. They're better against the pass, and they're just as bad against the run. They are giving up less points overall, though. I know yesterday was pretty bad, but overall, they are giving up less points, and that's an improvement. If they can get back to doing what they did the 3 games that they didn't have Mahomes, they're going to be fine. I just don't know how to get them there. And clearly this coaching staff doesn't either. That's what they have to come to. They have to find a way to get inside their heads and make them not relax. That's what it has to be. Good question, Alex. Big A, why didn't Jones play on the outside and leave Saunders, Noddy, and Pennell in the middle? That seemed to work way better. You're absolutely right. It worked way better. And that's the big question. They chose to leave Pennell inactive, which then made it, with Frank back, you want reps for Jones. You don't have to put him outside because, I don't know. Again, I think it was a mistake. But they're trying to get guys in a groove because they feel that it's more productive for them to play from a familiar spot. But I think Chris Jones has proven now that he can play anywhere along that line and get it done. So I want them to go back. It's like I said, it's a big loss because if you're going to go big with Jones at the end, it's great to have Agba in there because he's still quick. Now, K-Pass has been playing well. He didn't have the game against Tennessee that he had the week before, but he did still show some penetration. I'm going to check that out on the film review. He did still penetrate a couple of runs. He did still get some pressure. I just don't know. I think the big bodies, playing the bigger bodies, has to be the way that you start because every team has seen what's going to go on. Every team's going to try to run on them until you stop them. That's just the way it's going to be. That's the way every offense coordinator thinks, and that's what I do. Gary Holland, injuries, penalties, special teams is killing the Chiefs. How can they turn it around? It's about attention to detail, and it's about want to. That's all it is. These players have enough talent. Yeah, they're light in some places. The linebackers could be better. The guards could be better. I personally think they need a new center as well, but he's functional at least. It's about wanting to do it. It's about playing with intensity. It's about wanting to not just make a play or carry out your assignment. It's about wanting to punish the other team for daring to run at you. That has to be the mentality because these guys are just playing too soft. Frank Clark even said, we're playing too soft. When Ryan Tannehill runs on you like that and runs physically over you, you're playing too soft. Deldrick Smith, what's up with fumbling the ball in the second half, special teams in the running game? I don't know what's going on with fumbles. I mean, part of it is you don't get to practice enough of actually trying to rip it out. You can run the gauntlet thing that they do in camp all you want. That's not an active player punching and ripping at the ball. And honestly, most of the fumbles have come in coordination with a defender making a good play or a punch or a rip to get it out. So it's just not something they can practice with the current CBA. I hope that changes. Brasace, I think that's how you say it. Getting a little worried about the division race, particularly the Raiders. They have an incredibly easy schedule coming up. Am I overreacting? Nope, you're dead on, buddy. Raiders do have an easier schedule. They still have to play the Chiefs once, so that's good. You can have that portion of it in your own hands. But Chiefs just got to carry out their own business. There's no reason that I originally had them losing to the Patriots. Patriots aren't as strong as I thought they were going to be, and every other game is definitely winnable. So there's no reason they can't run it out. Could they end 12-4? Yeah. If they end 10-6 or better, I think they have the division. But who knows? Pono, self-inflicted means lack of desire and discipline that starts from the top, and that's why Andy never wins big games. I can't argue with you completely, although he has won some big games. He just doesn't win the big game. But yeah, it does come from the top, absolutely, and it has to come more. So everybody's got to be uncomfortable at this point. Maybe that's part of the problem is Andy Reid's not going to be on the hot seat. He's not uncomfortable. Everybody else should be. Chris Pepler, Ryan, where can we find the discipline that the team is lacking? So lots of players watching instead of hitting. Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, it has to come from the coaching staffs. It has to come from your position coaches. It has to come from your coordinators, most importantly. Steve Spagnuolo needs to get in somebody's rear end. You should start finding them. Anybody standing around watching them play, $5,000. You want to get to the players? That's how you do it. Because I'm about tired of it myself, and I'm not even bought in. You guys haven't even seen me put on my fan hat yet. I try to do in fact, I have an idea for a video. Thanks for bringing it up. I try to stay neutral. I try to stay informative and as an analyst because of my goals in the industry. Sometimes I just got to put on the fan hat, and that's when I get angry. So it's kind of embarrassing because, again, you're just not living up to your talent. That's the biggest problem for me. Mike Hall, can this organization under Reid and Veach build a championship team? That remains to be seen. They could build a championship offense, I'm sure. Everything else is up for question mark. It has to be proven. Patrick Lucarnis. Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, and thanks for saying hi from Sydney, Australia, folks. How does Reid turn things around? This year, it feels like when Mahomes plays, the rest of the team becomes lazy with penalties, etc. I agree with you. And I don't know if it's lazy or if it's just not focused, if it's not intense enough. I feel like they come out lackadaisical. I think that's part of what goes on in the first quarter, how we see them always kind of sputter. And then the second quarter, they come back, although this last game was totally not like that. But I agree with you. I kind of do feel like that it's just, what's 15 going to do now? Let's see. No, go smack somebody in the face and then see what happens. Look at the results. Don't watch the plays, because I feel like even some of the linemen aren't that intense. Guys that are usually pretty up there. I think Fisher changes that somewhat, I have to tell you. I know a lot of folks aren't big fans of Fisher. Fisher is a good left tackle. He's not elite, but he's good. And he's got some nasty to him. And that's something that I think they are sorely lacking right now. I want to see Wisniewski and Fisher on that left side. That's what I want to see. I think that might change a lot of things. So we'll see what happens with it. Let's see. Mike Hall, again, does the defense and Reid have too much reliance on Mahomes? Reliance, yeah. I think it's all partially too. But yeah, in the back of their heads, they know that they can make a few mistakes that he personally is going to be able to make up for. Chris Pepler, why can't the Chiefs play down to inferior teams? I don't know. They need to be stomping people. And that's something that you either have or you don't. It just is what it is. You could try to foster it, but some guys just don't have that killer instinct. And I feel like that's something that's lacking on the defense right now. So I'm with you. Alicia and James McGregor, thank you for your donation. Appreciate it very much. Just happy to listen. Please let me give you something for it. I promise. And guys, I got a new t-shirt that's going to come out that's going to help the channel too. And I'm going to give it to you guys first before we put it out on the podcast and everything. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm working with a graphic designer right now that's helping me pull it together. So keep an eye out for that. It's Mahomes oriented. Everybody will love it. It's great. Okay, Finn, I know you're having a rough day, Finn. I'm with you. Are you comfortable with possibly 3 road playoff games and going through Foxborough. Comfortable? No, not at all. Can it be done? Yes. Particularly if you can get the defense that played Green Bay and Minnesota in terms of intensity, you can beat the Patriots. The Patriots are going to try to run on you again. They're going to play that pressure defense, cover zero. They're going to try to play man. The Titans showed again that if you play tough physical man, especially on Tyreek Hill, you can get some performance boost out of that. That helps them. So the Patriots are going to do that. They're going to try to run the ball, although they don't have their big fullback that put the nails in the coffin last year. They are going to try to run the ball. And if you can get the run defense that you saw the last 2 weeks against Green Bay and Minnesota, that defense is good enough to get them to the Super Bowl with this offense. Even going 3 road games in through Foxborough. Foxborough does not bother me that much. I don't feel that Foxborough as a stadium is the advantage that Arrowhead is for the Chiefs. It's about, can you take apart what Belichick is doing? It's not even Tom Brady to me. It's Belichick. It's what his defense does. That's how he wins games. Hog Farmer, I'm glad I could be a little bit optimistic. Pono, what would Rex Ryan have done the whole scheme of things in the course of the year compared to Spagnuolo? Okay, so here's the thing. Rex is more multiple. He'll play from a 3-4 base most of the time. I think in Buffalo, he did run 4-3 once, but that was because of his personnel. He's definitely going to adapt to his personnel, and he's going to mix it up. And at the end of the day, he's going to get burnt over the top more, but he's going to be aggressive. He's going to be aggressive with the linebackers. He's going to blitz. Not as much with the safeties. Spags is big on the safeties, and honestly, I do like that. I don't have a problem with it. Ryan will be a little bit more pick and choose. He'll send corners a little bit. I still like what Rex does. I don't know that Rex can coexist with Andy, and that's the thing is you have to draw the line down the locker room at that point and just let them go be junkyard dogs in there because that's what you need. Personally, I would try to give it a shot, but that's still just me. Good question, Pono. Let's see. Tom Badine. What do you think of do you think it was oh, that's the same question I answered before. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind. I'm trying to get everybody's questions in here. Film Gluttony, there you are. Why could they stop the Vikings and the Broncos versus the run, but struggle against the Titans? What was different? Okay, so here's the basic. You had Saunders and you had Noddy, who've been playing very well. Noddy's in a little bit better shape conditioning-wise. Like, he can play more snaps before he's tired and has to come out and loses his ability to anchor and play strong, right? Saunders is young. He's a rookie, and he doesn't have as much stamina, so you have to rotate him more. What they did is, against the run, you want to have those two in there, Jones on the outside with Frank, and that'll work. I haven't gotten all the positioning for this game yet, but I'll have that probably tomorrow. But what you didn't have is Pennell. They inactivated him, left him off the roster for the day, and Pennell is the guy that you can rotate in there and is a run guy. So even when you take Saunders off or you take Jones off, and Saunders is getting pretty good against the run, you have another big body that can stop that run. They chose to keep Ivy active, and Ivy is a pass rushing DT. He's not a run stopper. He gets beat up in the run game. He doesn't have the anchor. He doesn't have the power in his lower body. He doesn't have the butt to drop his center of gravity and take on those blocks without giving up super yardage. That's what you see from Saunders, Jones when he wants to, although it's not all the time, and Noddy. Noddy was a top-rated defensive player yesterday, according to PFF, and I can't really argue with him. That and they chose to not play their base defense enough. Reggie got, I think it was 18 snaps. Reggie Ragland played 60-80% of the snaps in the last 3 games, and that's why the run defense worked. 3 linebackers is better than 2 when you're trying to stop the run. And that's the big thing. Like this next game against the Chargers are going to run 11 personnel and have 3 wide receivers out there a lot. And so you want to have more D-backs. The Tennessee Titans are a run team. You should have been in base the entire game, except for a couple of plays when they got in serious long yardage. Against some of these teams coming up, against Brady, against Rivers, they're going to be in 11 a lot. So you can't really have 3 linebackers out there. You got to be in the nickel. So it was a wasted opportunity to use your players the way they are meant to be used, and they just messed it up. They didn't play base defense. They didn't play Reggie Ragland. Those two are the same thing, and they left Pennell off the active roster. That's the big problem. So, good question, Gluttony. Jacob Calloway, how much longer do you believe Fisher will be out? I don't know. It's a tough injury, and no one heals the same way because every movement you make is reliant on it. So we'll see how that comes along. And I just lost my place because I scrolled too fast. Okay, Jacob Calloway, same question. I'm hoping that he makes it back. They're hinting that he could practice this week. He practiced a little bit last week. We'll see if we can get Fisher back this week. I think that changes a lot. Hog Farmer, is Dave Toub letting us down? I won't say that, but his unit is. They need to play with better discipline. From taking the punts too deep to missing blocking assignments. Even those that didn't get blocked, they've missed a couple of blocking assignments. They're pretty good in coverage. It's when they're kicking that they seem to really not be doing very well. But I feel that's more execution than it is on Dave Toub, except for the return part. I hope that conversation we saw on the broadcast yesterday between him and Mecole Hardman was, hey, let's stop taking it out inside the 10. That's a general rule of thumb in the league. If it's inside the 10, you don't take it out. Dave Toub has ignored that purposefully because he's got guys like Mecole, like Tyreek, that they can break one anytime. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 yards into the end zone or at the 20. So the concept for Dave Toub has been take more shots, bring it out more. That has to get more situational when your defense is not keeping up. So I think that will change. Pono, seems like Matthew avoids hits. Is he injured? No, he's not injured that I know of. I mean, everybody's a little beat up at this point in the season. I don't know what happened to him. I noticed that a little bit against the Titans too. And I don't know if it was just they were playing physical. They're a physical team, and maybe he was just feeling the wear of it. I don't know. But that's something that really has to turn around. And honestly, they're relying on him for some coverage. So maybe that's just trying to be smart and not get yourself too beat up so you can't run. That might be it too. Aaron Morrow, are fingers to blame for Clark dropping that interception? That's a good question. I kind of liken it to DJ. It took DJ years before he could catch an interception. He just doesn't have good hands. I mean, you should see me try to catch a football. And I was a fullback for a while. I think Frank will get around to it, but no, I don't think you can blame that on the fingers. Next, big test. How confident are you that Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl now compared to 10 weeks ago? I'm not confident. I have about, I'd put them in about 15% making the Super Bowl right now. I believe that can change. I believe it changes every week, so I'll tell you something different next week. But I do believe that they can make the playoffs 100%. And I do believe they can win playoff games. I'd put it at about 60% right now. Oh, let's see. Aaron Morrow. Thanks, buddy. You're always here asking questions. I appreciate it. Why were people not gang tagging? It just seemed like content to sit back and watch someone get bowled over. And I completely agree with you. And I thought they were, specifically with Tannehill, I'm glad you brought him up. Fenton didn't want to hit him. And Juan Thornhill went lower than I expected him to. I think they're scared of getting penalties, personally. I think they've been told you're going to get penalized. Once he passes line of scrimmage, he's a running back. He's able to get hit just the same as anybody else. Clobber him. I think they're too passive about it. And maybe that's because they're being taught not to be overly aggressive in their hits when they're pass rushing. Maybe that played over because both Thornhill and Fenton blitzed yesterday too. So maybe that's just a technique thing or a mental thing about making the separation. But when they're in the open field, clobber them. There's no reason not to. Mr. AG, if no other coach is better, which I agree, why aren't the players playing for him 100% always? And that's the question. They're too comfortable. This is what happens with player coaches. Players want to play for them. They like him. They're inspired by him. But he doesn't ride them. He's the good cop. It's like parents, right? If dad's always giving you candy and mom's the one that's smacking you around, when mom lets off, you're going to slack too. There's not enough discipline in them sometimes. And that's the rub on most players' coaches. I can't say that's what's happening, but that's my instinct is there's just not enough chewing out of players, not enough challenging them to be as good as they can be. That's my personal opinion. I've spoken to no one who's been in the locker room for any of that. I don't have any inside information. That's just my take after having been in college locker rooms and high school locker rooms over the years. So that's what I think. Case K, do you think we will win out after this wake-up call. I think it's a possibility, Casey. I think you're going to see them respond. There's a lot of guys that are embarrassed. I think Tyron's embarrassed. I think Frank Clark's embarrassed. Honestly, I think Mahomes is a little embarrassed. When I listened to his post-game presser, he did not sound like, oh, man, we could have gotten that done. No, he sounded pissed. So I think as much as some of this lack of performance is from the players watching him, if he chews him out, I think that's going to make a big difference. And I think at this point, the MVP and just how special he is, even though he's 24 years old, I think he can cuss out this entire locker room and kick them in the butt in a good way. I just don't know if he's ready to do it. That's going to be the question. Let's see. Curtis Douglas, what's up, buddy? Does Mahomes' talent and awesome ability make the coaches and other players let up and not play as hard? It seems like it, but I can't confirm that. I don't think it's a purposeful thing, but I do feel like there is some kind of, like, he's a safety net in the back of their minds, and they're not putting out 100%. Chris Pepler, when will it dawn on these guys that championship caliber teams crush inferior teams? I'm waiting for that. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get there. I don't know if that's a message Andy is going to deliver. I hope so. Justin Troba, nice to see you. Where do we stand in the playoffs, and how many games can we lose before it's over for us? They're the 4th seed right now. They're 1 game behind the Texans, who are the 3rd seed, 2 games behind the Baltimore Ravens, who they've beaten, and then the Patriots are on top. Like I said, they can compete with anybody in this league. That's not a problem. It's just, will they do it? I expect the Patriots to lose again, probably to the Chiefs. I expect the Ravens to lose again. I expect the Texans to lose again. The question is going to be, can the Chiefs hold whole court and stay in there? Otherwise, they could fall. I mean, they're as low as they're going to be unless they let somebody else from the AFC West beat them. Right now, they're the lowest seed of the division leaders. So 4 seeds about as low as they're going to get unless they just completely fall apart. Let's see. Sorry, Casey. Your question. Don't you think that Darwin Thompson should have more touches? He's our best back, in my opinion. I honestly don't. I don't think he's ready. He's explosive, but I don't dig his vision. I haven't seen him do anything against NFL competition. I still think it's still pretty big for him right now. I want to see Darryl carry the ball. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys can check stats while I'm saying this. The only guy who hasn't fumbled in the backfield this year is Darrell Williams and Anthony Sherman. So if it's up to me, I run those guys constantly. I run them split backs. I run them eye backs. I run them one at a time. I don't care. I want to crush people in the face until they commit guys to the box and then throw over the top of them, let Mahomes rip it at that point. That's my plan day in, day out, every time. But I think Darwin will get there. I don't think there's anything wrong with Darwin. I just think that he's making a huge jump from his college level to the NFL. I think next season he's going to be a completely different player in knowing where to be, knowing how to attack, knowing how quickly he has to accelerate when he sees a gap that he wants to hit. You got to remember, when they're running inside-outside zone, and this is a zone-first team, they'll run some man and some power, but this is a zone-first team, and that requires the running back's vision. I tweeted something out. I want to say it was from Brett Coleman. Check my Twitter timeline, though. Dissecting Damian Williams' vision in the backfield and how he's slow to recognize when he does have to cut backside or when a hole is going to close before he's able to get through it. And that is part of the problem. That's why you see him get bottled up. That's why you see, like we saw against the Vikings. What was it, 9 carries for 28 yards, 3 yards carry, and then boom, he hits one. And I've talked about that in the past too. That's part of the running game. There's a lot of backs that are like that, where you just got to give them enough volume. Keep punching. Eventually they'll break through. Darwin Thompson's the same thing. He's got to learn to see it. And I think he'll get there. I think it's just going to take a little bit. Josh Walker, I am in no way qualified to be a defensive coordinator, but I'd love to help. So Spags, if you want an outside set of eyes, let me know. Sign Jones, trade Clark. Seeing crazier things, man. Jeremy Jones, shouldn't we be looking for some offensive linemen, whether it's in free agency or early in the draft? It's diminishing returns. If you're looking for a tackle, particularly a left tackle, you can go in the first round. Anything beyond that, late second, third, fourth, even down to the fifth, you can get starters. starting level, especially interior linemen in all those spots. So no, I don't think the O-line has to be early. I would like to see them get a veteran. We'll see what Wiz has left if he gets to actually start a game and see how he can do with the volume of snaps. But yeah, interior offensive line centers and guards are actually cheaper in free agency as well. So that's a good point too. Chris Wickman, I think that's how you say it. What would you think about giving Darwin more carries? Like I said, next season for sure. David Fogel, maybe Murray from OU at linebacker. Yeah, I like what I've seen from him, although it's just been like highlights. I haven't done any film on him, and I haven't read any of the guys that I trust. There's a few names in the scouting world that I trust. One of them doesn't even scout anymore. He moved over and is working with the XFL of all things. But yeah, like this point in the year, I'm still focused on the NFL and on the Chiefs. When it comes to bowl season, I'll start watching college games. And then once I have some guys that I have opinions on that from people that I trust, then I'll start going back and looking at the players individually. I have a couple that I have on my watch list that I know of, and then I'll go off of those. Billy the Kid, who should be the RB1? I don't think there should be an RB1. I don't know what's wrong with LaShawn. I wasn't big on his signing when it first happened, but he has proven to be the best spark, in my opinion. I know Damian had that big, long run, but other than that, I just don't see a lot from Damian this year that I'm happy with. Quite frankly, I think he milked his injury. I wasn't very impressed with that. I thought he stayed out longer than he needed to. And I don't ever want to see a running back run out of bounds on purpose behind the line of scrimmage ever again. So I kind of hold a grudge about that stuff. But other than that, you got LaShawn, you got Damian, you got Darrell. They can all be starters. If you put Darrell in the Tennessee backfield, he'd be a monster. He'd be, in my opinion, Darrell Williams would be as good as Derrick Henry in that offense. That's what he's good at. Chris Pepler, should they go back to the run when Fish and the doctor get back? I'd love it. They don't need to, though. You don't have to get 6 yards of carry to make the run worth it. If you can get 4 yards of carry, that's the threshold. That's where running the ball becomes positive for your whole offense. And I think these guys are good enough to do that if you give it enough volume. The problem is when you run 13 times a game, that's just not enough. Philip Magruder, what's up, bud? Do you think Daly, Merritt, Madison, and Spagnuolo's Super Bowl resumes, do you still trust them to have the defense play better down the stretch? I think they can get some out of it, but I do have to say this. The first year of any defensive change, especially from a 3-4 to a 4-3, is always not going to be optimal. I think they're going to peak in year 3. Year 2 is going to be dramatically better. But I do hope that if they can just get out of their heads, play basic defense, start with the base. Don't play nickel as your base defense. Play your base because teams want to run on you because of what they've seen on film. So it makes more sense. But I do feel that they can get more out of it if they can just stick to more basic fundamental football. Let's see. It's time to bring in a new O-line coach, Stevie Keys. They really like Andy Heck. He's had a lot of success developing these zone type athlete type blockers. That said, there are other guys that I do like. If Solari ever decided to leave Seattle, yeah. There are a number of guys that are going to be on the younger edge. It's more about style than it is anything else. You want experience, but you also need style. Andy Heck's a really good teacher, and that really helps. So I think you're more capable of upgrading at O-line coach than you are at head coach for sure. But it's not huge. There might be 4 or 5 other coaches that I'd rather have, but it's not going to be a long list. Chris Pepler, 5-2 with K-Pass as middle linebacker. No. He cannot cover side to side. No. He might have trouble covering from tackle to tackle. He is great where he is. That shift between DT and D end, that's what K-Pass does. I don't want him standing up unless it's in some guard's face. Excuse me. Pono Kwai, do you see a running back move next year? Is it affordable if a good free agent is out there? Damian is a softie. Yeah, I can't argue with the softie part. I'm just not apt to spend a lot of money on free agent running backs. Damian's cheap. LaShawn came in cheap because of where he is age-wise. I think you can pick up good running backs on the third day of the draft. I think you can find some that can work in this particular offense very easily in free agency for not a lot of money. So I'm not one to spend a lot of money on running backs for this team. Jacob Callaway, what injury is Schwartz suffering from? Don't know. They weren't specific, at least not that I've seen to this point. He's had knee issues before. He wears a brace on one of them. I think he just got a tweak. It looked like it was an MCL ligament that might have been stretched or pinged a little bit. He's a tough dude. He plays through pain. He's played for, it was 7,500 snaps. He plays through pain. He plays through bumps and bruises. It's not a problem. I don't anticipate any issue for him. Okay, Billy the Kid. Should we trade Breeland for draft picks or a pick? I assume you mean Breeland Speaks. Nobody's going to give you anything for him right now, especially until he's proven he can recover from the injury. So no, I wouldn't even try it. Maybe you can get him to be the next Agba. I don't know if Agba's going to resign now. I don't know if the team's going to want to resign him depending on what happens with this pec. Pecs usually you can recover from, but he tied his career high with the 5.5 sacks yesterday. I think you can sign him back, but he's still on his rookie contract. That's why he's so affordable right now. If you can't bring him back, you got to try to get Breeland Speaks to be the next Agba. And that means he needs to drop weight and get stronger because he came in to camp sloppy this year. They might have asked him to gain weight, but it wasn't any good weight. So he's got a long way to go, and he's got to prove to me that he's capable of being serious about being a professional athlete because I don't see it. Dr. Smith, do you think Tyreek still has to be accounted for the 2 drops? Although Damian Williams saved him one of them. Yeah, it's troublesome, but it's not something you see Tyreek do very often, so I'm not apt to get really, really nervous about it. Okay, I scrolled. Where are we? Clinton Petrie. The defense played from different personnel groups, I assume. Why do you think they experimented this game with the game plan of the Titans? It would be identical to the Vikings. I don't know. They shouldn't have experimented. This is a fairly one-dimensional team. And quite frankly, they don't have athletes that scare me in the pass game. So you could have run a very similar game plan to the Vikings game. You're absolutely right. Stevie Keys. Oh, I wish I had press credentials too. The folks at Chiefs PR are great. They don't give credentials to pods or independents like me. I work with Chiefs Digest and Matt Derrick a lot. I can't even get a credential through them just because it's just not what they do. They're great people. They're really helpful. They give me audio. They give me all the press releases. So don't hold it against them too much. Eventually, if I get there, someday it'll happen. Honestly, I'm trying to be a consultant for teams, Chiefs in particular, so I'd rather work for them than cover them. So if you guys ever see me say, hey, I'm shutting the channel down, it's because I took a job in the NFL. Let's see. Who's next? Brandon Coleman. Thoughts on having to possibly play the Ravens in the playoffs in their stadium? I ain't worried. I don't care. The Chiefs are set up to play them because the thing that scares me the most about them is Lamar and his RPOs. The Chiefs have the athletes, the lighter linebackers that can cover ground to play that. It's power they can't play. It's Ingram on that offense that would scare me more. But they've proven that they can beat that team. I don't feel the addition of Marcus Peters does anything. I know Therese thinks that Marcus is always going to get a pick no matter what. I think Marcus got lucky against Mahomes last year. I don't think Marcus did anything to deserve that pick. I think it was underthrown. I'm not that impressed. I think the Chiefs still go into Baltimore and win. Ponaquai, how is Spags defensive coordinator if he can't figure out it's sometimes not seeing the forest for the trees. Like he's so specific about doing X or Y. And quite frankly, if the staff as a whole says, hey, we're going to be out to a lead, that's what he builds his game plan off of. That's what Reid is saying the plan for. That, that's part of being a coordinator. You do answer to the head coach. But I don't know. I really wish I could have been in on the music because I don't see how this game plan against the Titans made any sense whatsoever on either side of the ball. It just didn't make sense. My call. What positions are not physical enough on defense? Who would you keep at linebacker? I love Reg. Don't get me wrong. But Reg is not in the best shape. He needs to be more fit. He needs to be more aggressive. If he could do those two things in the next 6 games, I would sign him back. I think Damian Wilson is the only guy you can keep right now. I don't think Hitch has worked out. I don't think he's a fiery leader. I think you brought him in here to be a leader, and I don't think he's capable of doing that when you have guys like Frank and Jones and Tyron on the team. So I think it's time to let him go because he is not intense enough. He is too passive, both in personality and specifically his play on the field. So I would keep Wilson, and I would restock that whole group. David Angel Molina, Mahomes, to me, is still the best quarterback in the NFL. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Stevie Keys, we need Gunther Cunningham personality back on this coaching staff. I could not agree with you more. There's that quote from the day that Gunther was hired, right, at his press conference. He said, we're going to do what we've always done. We're going to stop the run. We're going to take away their will to run it at us anymore, and we'll let them try to throw at us. And that's exactly what you should be doing today, 20 years later. Nothing has changed. RPOs, spread offenses, I don't care. Go crush somebody in the run game. Don't let them move an inch unless they throw the ball, and then you have opportunities to take that ball away in the air. I am totally with you. Man, I like that. Okay. David Angelina. The O-line needs to stop getting injured. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Team has 3 bad injuries, and it's too much for the O-line. It may be. Some of this is hard to recover from. Rankins, I thought, was improving. He was a guy I thought was overdrafted. I think he should have been a lower round draft pick, but I think he had potential. He's still got a little baby fat on him. He's not even physically mature yet. So if it's a patellar tendon, and all I've seen is patella, I haven't seen what the injury is yet. That could be serious. I mean, that's something that changes the way your body moves for the rest of your life. It could be not career ending, but something that allows him to never reach the potential that he had before last week. Jeremy Olson, will the run game and pass pro get better once Fish and LDT come back and be the difference maker? I believe it will. I think Fish is a much better pass block. He's also a better run blocker than Irving. Big upgrade there. And I still feel that LDT is a better player than Wiley. My buddy Dan Harms, and I'm going to try to talk to him this week. You guys have heard him from Arrowhead, guys, and he's been on here with me a couple of times. He feels the opposite. He thinks Wiley's a better player. So we'll probably get into that debate a little bit. So keep an eye out for that. But I do believe those two are the upgrade. The interesting thing for me is if LDT and Fisher are back, does the team try to stick Wiley back at left guard? Because I want to see Steven Wisniewski there. I think Wisniewski is definitely a better player. I think his experience pays off. And I think if they are not going to turn to a run game, if they're not going to run enough like they did with Moore, Wisniewski's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, and his experience pays off. And I think he, next to Fisher, is going to be the advantage. I really want to see that happen. Stevie, does Tobe need to put Hill back at returner? He can. I mean, I think what they're doing now where it's situational, like if they need a big play, they let him have a shot at it. I don't want to see him take that kind of punishment every game, though. So I personally would let Mecole continue. I would give a couple other guys a chance or two, but I'm okay with that. You just got to get Mecole on the same page where he's not making blunder plays at the 3-yard line. Let that stuff go, man. Mo Money. When is Okafor coming back? It doesn't look like it's going to be right now. I'm going to be surprised if he practices this week. And when he does, does he start over Clark? No, not at all. If Frank Clark's healthy, he will start no matter what. No one will start over him, period, ever, unless they sign some huge player. He is your pass rusher number 1, period. Okafor plays opposite him, and he will start, especially now that Agba's out. I don't think they want to start K-Pass. I think K-Pass is good in a rotational role, but you want to get Okafor back to play opposite. And Okafor is underrated in his pass drops. When they want to do some zone blitzing where they got to drop somebody out, he's the guy. I don't want to see Derek Nottie in coverage anymore, people. It drives me insane. Curtis Douglas, what do you know about Jackson Barton OT that we signed for press from the Colts practice squad? I know nothing about him. I do not believe that I did a write-up on him for the draft. I could go back and check, but I don't know much about him. I'll have to do a little research. Sorry, bud. Morbian 13, glad you made it. What do you think of Hardman catching the fair catch? Yeah, I did not agree with that, especially where that was. Just let it go. Aaron, thanks for the reminders. My call on 3rd and 2. Why wouldn't the Chiefs design a play for one of their playmakers, Hill, Kelce, or Watkins, just 2 yards? I would have run the ball. I would have run a counter, sweep, and got outside. I think the edges, I understand the people say you couldn't get yardage in between the tackles. That's fair. They had a lot of trouble. Although Williams was making yardage there in the 4th quarter. I would have hit the edges, either with a pitch or a jet sweep or a counter. That's what I would have done. And specifically, get it to somebody you can trust. Do not run. They used to do this with Harris, Demetrius Harris. Don't design plays for your backup tight end. Just don't do it. You never have a guarantee that they're going to get separation so you can throw that ball. I wouldn't have done it. I don't like that particular play, especially in that situation. Travis Peterson, how are you, bud? Will 757. Why can't we match Smash Mouth with Darrell Williams? I would love to. It's just not in Andy's nature. He wants to dink and dunk, even if he can't go downfield, but he wants to go downfield, which I like that part. I'd like the downfield passing game. I just want to supplement it with power smacking runs too. Michael Uden, do you see any glaring problems with the last Titans scoring play and how neither safety attacked the scoring receiver? The last one, I have to go back and look at it. I don't recall that off the top of my head. I know that went to, what's his name? The little dude, Humphreys. I will tell you this. I thought Hitchens blew the touchdown before that where the Henry just kind of walked into the end zone. I think I know what happened there, though, and I'm going to put that in the film room and show you guys because I think it's another thing about not being intense enough and not paying attention to detail and not having that staff on top of what the players are doing. Billy the Kid. Buck, what should we do about R. Breland? I'm not sure who you mean. There's Bashad Breeland and there's Breeland Speaks. Bashad's good. He's playing okay. He's not great. He gets beat over the top. He's susceptible to speed. That's not going to change, but I think he's doing okay. Michael Rodriguez, I know it's early, but do you think Zach Moss would be a good running back for the Chiefs out of Utah next year? I don't know. I haven't watched him yet, especially if he's going to go in the 5th, 6th round. Yeah, sure. I really don't think – I think the most important thing about a running back in this system is his vision. Kareem Hunt is not a speed burner. He's not particularly a power back. He has great vision. He has good contact balance, and he catches the ball really well. That's why Kareem Hunt was successful. You don't need Kareem Hunt. You don't need what he does. A lot of different types of backs can play well in this offense. It's about reading the blocks and getting to the open spot. That's vision. So when you go through the draft cycle and you're reading guides, I know there's a lot of national ones, a couple of local ones. The local ones are okay. One guy I definitely trust. I don't want to disparage anybody from buying somebody else's draft guy because I think I'm more draft back than him. But keep that as a key. When you're looking at running backs, running down your scouting reports, vision, what you need in this Chiefs offense. Daniel, thoughts on Rodgers getting more snaps than I think that's a mistake. I play Rodgers against the trust coverage. I think it was Bob. I'm sorry, Ward got safety shooting. Oh, check my connection. Tell me, is that anybody? Is that any better, you guys? Well, I was running out of time anyway, so we're at an hour. Just gonna